loving your body is an act of resistance towards all of this, towards the patriarchy, towards the people that want to just profit off your insecurities. It's an act of resistance towards anyone that wants to keep us small and powerless. There is power in loving yourself. Welcome back to the Pink and Powerful Podcast, my ladies and femmes. In this episode today, I wanted to talk about beauty standards specifically for women. This is gonna be a deep episode, okay? We're gonna go on a deep dive into how women's bodies are treated like a trend and how we can overcome it and take back our power, take back our confidence. I want you to leave this episode feeling really good about yourself and just having a new appreciation for your body and for your beauty, for who you are really. So let's get into some history first of all. I have some proof that women's bodies and body types are treated literally like a trend, and they're always changing. It's kind of crazy when you go back and look through the history. Depending on when and where you were born, the beauty standard is gonna look different. For example, in ancient Egypt, the ideal body for women was slender, narrow shoulders, a symmetrical face, and a high waist. That rhymed, and I didn't mean for it to rhyme. But then in ancient Greece, the ideal woman was plump, full-bodied, and had light skin. If you take a look at the Italian Renaissance, the ideal woman had a rounded stomach, full hips, and once again fair skin. And we can go even into the 1920s in America, in the roaring 20s. The ideal woman had a flat chest, a downplayed waist, a short bob hairstyle, and a boyish figure. But if you fast forward into the golden age of Hollywood, the 1930s through the 1950s, everything changed, and then all of a sudden curves were in, hourglass figure was in, large chests were in, and a slim waist. So that was way different than the roaring 20s, right? In the supermodel era in the 1980s, it was celebrated to be athletic, tall, and have toned arms. So you're seeing now how different things can change depending on the time zone and depending on where you're at. Like, it's kind of crazy to look back at how the body types were always constantly changing, and some periods they could be the exact opposite of the period before that. It's wild. If you fast forward to today, what's in today is basically Kim Kardashian look, right? The full hips, the flat stomach, large chest, large glutes, that kind of thing. So what is gonna be next? Who knows? Who knows what beauty standard is gonna be next? It's crazy how we're treated this way when we are literally human fucking beings. It is so disheartening to see that we're not treated like human beings and that we're treated, like I said, like a trend. And also just some interesting facts. In Thailand, I don't know if it's still trending right now, but cheek dimples were really in. And in this place called Myanmar, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but they would literally wear neck rings to try to like extend their neck to make their neck look longer because that was desired and that was what was trendy. Like I said, I don't know, maybe that's still happening. And in Ethiopia, lip plates are like a big thing. Like, you know how people gauge their ears? They gauge their lips. So it is all just dependent on what is cool in the moment. Like, literally what has society decided is desired. Here in America, if we see someone with a lip plate, that's not really like a big thing. That's arguably probably unattractive to most people here, but in Ethiopia, that's all the rage. Like I said, I don't know if that's still a thing currently, but that was at least a thing at one point in time. And it just shows how we are programmed to believe something is beautiful or something is not. But it's wild because we could just as easily be programmed to think that the same thing that isn't beautiful, we could be programmed to think that it is and see it as an attractive thing. It just depends on the status quo, basically. So I find it really interesting because if your nose is trending, I feel like right now small noses are like really, really in, and people are doing their makeup a certain way to try to make their noses look smaller, and people are getting nose jobs. That's like very, very popular right now. But imagine 10, 15, I don't know how many years from now, it could be the opposite, and people could be like, small noses, no, we don't like that. Like, that is unattractive. And then all of a sudden, everyone's going to want to change their nose. If you really sit and think about that, it's kind of an epiphany. It's like, oh my God, I can just choose to see the qualities of myself and be like, no, actually, my qualities are beautiful because I decide they're beautiful. Because if everybody in society suddenly was like, let's say there's something about yourself that maybe isn't trending right now. If everybody in society decided that all of a sudden it was trending and all of a sudden it was the most beautiful thing, you would see it totally differently. You'd be like, oh, okay, well, actually, I am beautiful and worthy, right? So we are so fucking powerful in that sense. Like, we can determine our own beauty. We can decide what we think is attractive and unattractive, and we can decide if we love something or hate something. And I think that a lot of it has to do with survival instincts, because people don't want to be alone. People don't want to be turned away from the group. Like, it's a survival thing, because back in like the caveman days, if the tribe turned you away and you were just all alone, you're probably not going to survive. But things are obviously so different now, and you can definitely survive without having to have like a tribe to help you hunt wildebeests like help you start a fire. Like, we've obviously progressed very long way. So things are a lot different now. So but unfortunately, I believe a lot of these survival instincts, they haven't progressed with the progress that we've made, and they're still there, and we still have this desire to fit in and this urge to belong, and we don't want to be turned away from the tribe, even though there's so many different types of tribes you could be in these days. And if you're different, it's actually okay. It's actually really fucking okay, and you're not going to have to worry about not surviving just because you're different in like 99% of cases, I would say. At least give it some context though, you know, everything is with nuance, but like, you understand the context of what I'm talking about, right? I hope you do, because I understand there's nuance to things, but generally speaking, what I'm trying to say is you can assign worthiness to something on your own. You don't have to wait for the rest of society to assign worthiness. And that something that I'm talking about is yourself. You can assign like, okay, I am actually worthy. I'm not going to wait for the rest of society to catch up and think that this feature that I have is beautiful. I don't have to wait for society, because that's outdated survival instinct. You know, it's a lot of critical thinking. It's a lot of really reprogramming your brain. But I believe that we're so fucking powerful that we can do it. I told you we're going to get deep today, okay? Why does society have these trends in the first place? Like, why do they decide what is an insecurity? Why do they determine something as, oh, if you have this thing, you're not worthy? For example, wrinkles, acne, a certain body type, a certain body shape, some fat on a certain area of your body. Why does society say, oh, if you have this thing, you need to be insecure about it? I'll tell you why. Because then they can profit off of your insecurities. If you have a problem, guess what? There's a thing that you're going to have to pay for to fix that problem, quote unquote. So if you have an insecurity, if you have some wrinkles and you're like, oh, this is a flaw, I need to fix this, guess what? There's a billion fucking wrinkle creams that you can buy that probably don't even work. And someone can profit off of that. It's all just people wanting to profit off of your insecurities. Remember that. Next time you catch yourself perceiving something as a flaw just because society told you that's a flaw for some reason, the reason being so they can profit, remember that there's some CEO, probably white, probably male, billionaire, profiting off of it. And you can just as easily change your point of view. You have the power to change your perspective about it. You can choose like, hey, actually, I'm not going to worry about this thing anymore. I'm not going to stress about fixing it. I'm not going to think that I'm less worthy just because I have a wrinkle or something. I know it's hard. I know it's not an easy thing to fix overnight. It's going to take persistence and consistent effort to change your mindset about something. But I believe that we can really do it if we find what is the root of it. And that's why I wanted to talk about the history a little bit and talk about all of this so that you can realize what is the root of all your insecurities. I believe another thing that contributes to this is rampant misogyny, because we unfortunately live in a patriarchy. If you don't know what patriarchy is, I made another episode all about that, so go watch that. But it's basically the society that centers and uplifts men, specifically rich white men. Everybody else is treated like they're less worthy and less important. And if women recognize our power, because I'm gonna say it again, this is pink and powerful. I can say it as many times as I want, damn it. We are so powerful. And if we recognize that power, that's exactly what they don't want, because they want to be in power. They want to keep the status quo. They want to keep the patriarchy going because they want to hold the power. They don't want us to realize our power. And part of realizing our power is understanding that we don't have to be so insecure about all these, once again, quote unquote, flaws. The more that we don't feel good about ourselves, the more we question our own worth, the less powerful we feel, the more that they get to stay at the top. Just understand that that is a very, very big factor. So just by deciding like, no, I'm actually going to love myself. I'm actually going to decide what's a flaw and what's not. I'm actually going to sit here and challenge these things and deconstruct all of this bullshit that has tried to tell me that I need to feel bad about these things. I'm actually going to do all that. And then that's how you gain your power back. And that's how you just live a more fulfilling life, a life full of self-love and being in your power. It's wild how many times I've experienced this firsthand of so many women not feeling confident in their own bodies and their own skin, because I'm a personal trainer. So people talk to me about these things all the time, about what they want to change in their bodies. And like, I'm all for changing something that you want to change about yourself, and I'm all for working on yourself, especially getting healthier. I support that fully. I think there comes a point where I can see that it's gotten a little bit out of hand for some people. I've trained so many girls where their mothers were telling them like, you need to lose fat here, and they were just basically their own biggest critic, their mothers. And I would talk to their mothers, and it just broke my heart because I would try to tell them like, your daughter doesn't need to worry about this thing. Like, she's 14. Like, why are you pressuring her to be so goddamn perfect when nobody's perfect at 14 years old? Like, she doesn't need to worry about these little things. And dude, it's so hard to get into, but it would just break my heart when these girls would tell me the things that their mothers would say to them, because it's like, what the fuck are you, why are you telling your daughter this about her body? Like, why are you commenting on your daughter's appearance and her body and like in a negative way? And why are you trying to make her feel so insecure about herself, bro? Like, what the fuck? It would seriously upset me so much. I felt really helpless. And like, I've had clients come to me pointing to a totally normal spot to have fat and be like, how do I get rid of this fat here? And it's like, dude, we don't have to be fucking walking skeletons with literally 0% body fat. We wouldn't even be alive if that was the case. Like, it's okay to have some body fat. It is actually good. It's a good thing. Like, obviously in excess or too little amount, like there's a healthy amount to have, but goddamn, we are so pressured to be literally like these Slender Man. You know who Slender Man is? I feel like we're pressured to walk around like fucking Slender Man. Fuck that. You're allowed to be a human walking around with flesh and bone and skin, and like, you're allowed to take up goddamn space. That's what it is. Once again, it leads back to the patriarchy. They don't want us to feel like we can take up space. They want us to shrink ourselves. They want us to feel small. I will say it as many times as I need to before it really, really becomes just an automatic thought in your head. Like, you don't have to sit there and consciously think this thought, like it just is there, because I really, really want to get that through to you. You're allowed to take up space. Your body is allowed to look the way it looks. Things that you've been told are flaws aren't flaws. Loving your body is an act of resistance towards all of this, towards the patriarchy, towards the people that want to just profit off your insecurities. It's an act of resistance towards anyone that wants to keep us small and powerless. There is power in loving yourself. And I know I kind of went off on this episode. I know this was a deep episode, but like, I really, really hope it helped somebody out there understand that you can just love yourself the way you are right now. And if there's something that you want to work on, like I said, if you want to get healthier, I'm all for that. I'm all for taking care of yourself 100%. But just know that there does come a point where it's like, okay, maybe this is a little too extreme, you know? Like, there's a healthy balance in everything. And I just hope you're able to recognize what that balance is, because I understand that it might look different for different people. It's just that when we're starting to talk about like, hey, how do I get rid of this fat on my hands? I think it's getting a little too far. Yeah, I don't think you need to scan every little centimeter of your body and worry about losing fat. You know what I'm saying? Please take this with all the nuance. And I hope that I'm making sense. I hope I'm reaching you in the way I want to. I really do, because I know that this is like a really touchy topic, and I'm not saying that anybody's feelings aren't valid for wanting to change something about themselves, and your feelings are totally valid, and it makes sense if you feel the way you feel. It makes total sense. And I don't think there's one person, let alone woman, femme, one person on this planet that has never, ever, ever felt some sort of insecurity, some insecure about something about themselves. So just know we're all just walking around trying to figure it out, man. I've seen women with the absolute ideal body type and they're still picking themselves apart. So don't think that if you looked a certain way, then you would finally reach this level of confidence and security, and it would be like this newfound level of appreciation for yourself that you've never had. Because trust me, even the women like that look like that, they still pick themselves apart. They still do it. It's not about what you look like. Sometimes it might seem like it is, but it's more about your mindset and your relationship with yourself and your body image. Body dysmorphia is a thing, and face dysmorphia is a thing. And just understand that changing the way you look can be beneficial in terms of like your health and everything, in terms of things like that. But in terms of loving yourself, sometimes dropping to 10% body fat doesn't make you love yourself any more than you thought it would. Trust me. When I was doing a bikini competition, I thought, oh my God, I'm going to get abs. I'm going to be so lean. I'm going to really love myself. That was the worst body image I've ever had about myself in my whole life when I was doing my bikini competition, because it was never enough. I was never lean enough in my eyes. Are you kidding me? I was so fucking lean. But to me, I never was. So just know that's not always the fix. And I understood after so long that the fix was within me. It wasn't external, it was internal. It was learning to love myself for who I was, for what I had, learning to love myself through other ways, you know, like my body takes care of me. My body lets me run, go to the gym, lift. My body helps me be strong. My body does so much for me. And that's where I found appreciation and love for myself. Oh my God, I was all over the place in this episode. I hope it was helpful. I really, really do. I hope that you love yourself. I hope that you understand your body isn't a trend, and it's okay to love yourself. It's more than okay. It's amazing to love yourself. I hope that this made you question some things that you've been indoctrinated to believe. I hope that it makes you think maybe about deconstructing all that, especially if it's harmful to you. Let me know in the comments something that you love about yourself. If you haven't listened to the last episode yet, make sure you go give it a listen. Subscribe, and I will see you girlies and femmes in the next one.